Happy 2026. It's been an interesting start to the year just because I had my mom here visiting until mid-January. Didn't really work on any projects, just spent time with friends and family and just really enjoyed Christmas. Because Griffin is so young, it's just so special to see him opening presents for the first time, bringing him to meet Santa. He's still at the age where he doesn't completely get it, but he loved ripping into Christmas presents.
Yeah. Good job, Grit. Good job.
He loved all of the Christmas music. We went to the mainland and spent time with Matt's family. We did some Christmas light tours. Just really tried to soak in as much of the Christmas spirit as possible, which meant that I didn't have any time for projects. That being said, I actually did take some of your comments to heart as I was building Griffin's room, which is still going on. I thought long and hard about why we hadn't moved Griffin yet into the room beside our bedroom, which I was using as an office. And to explain our thought process, we have to take a look back. When we first moved into this house, this room also smelled very strongly like cat pee. It had a carpet and needed a really good clean. So it was actually the first room that I worked on because originally we actually thought that this room would be Griffin's room. Before we did anything, we used an ozonator in the space, and then I got to ripping out the carpet. There were also a ton of spider nests in every door jamb, every window of this house. So yeah, that was fun to clean up. Removing the carpet, the underlayment, and even the tack strips was pretty easy. It was removing the million staples afterwards that took some patience and some time. And because this was going to be Griffin's room, I didn't want to leave the subfloor exposed. It's not the easiest to clean, and we didn't have a timeline for how long we would actually be using this space for. So I started looking on Facebook Marketplace for a cheap laminate flooring that I could install temporarily. And I found some that was actually almost the same color as the main living space flooring that we have. And it was in good condition for only 50 bucks. This is the space. It's got its own little bathroom. It's a little awkward because they did put in this bathroom so it eats into the overall space of the room and only allows for probably a twin bed here if you wanted to have a bed in here. We did have a queen and it comes pretty much to, I don't know, it gives you like a 1.5 feet of space to walk through here from the door. And I've got my miter saw set up out here, a couple steps down. And this is the Marketplace laminate that I picked up. Cheap, quick, easy. Here we go. I just floated the floor on top of the subfloor without any underlayment and no fasteners, and then finished it off with some cheap baseboard. Originally we did have Griffin in the room beside our bedroom, but the air conditioning in our house wasn't working the greatest and the room got really, really hot especially in the morning when the sun is hitting directly against the face of the house. So we ended up moving him out of that room into the, I say moldy room. It used to be moldy. I also think I made it seem like it was way worse, like I had stuck him in a moldy room. It was moldy when we had first moved in, and I cleaned all of it up. It just seemed like there was an underlying problem, and I didn't like the idea of him being in that room. It just kind of made me think a little bit more and think a little bit clearer about why we had moved and continued to have Griffin in that bedroom. It's away from the main living space, which is nice, so we could kind of make as much noise as possible. The room beside our bedroom is right beside the main living space, so that was one of the things that we were thinking about. But ultimately, over the break, I made the decision to pack up my office and move Griffin into that bedroom. I installed some custom bookshelves that I made before Griffin was born. His crib fits perfectly in the space, and I even installed a custom floating shelf along the length of the room for a little bit of extra storage. And he has quite the view now. He can always move into the room that I'm working on after the fact, but at least he's out of that moldy, underlying mold bedroom. Because it really does make sense that now my office is in his bedroom, so we've just swapped places. But anyway, just thought I would mention, we have moved Griffin into a new bedroom. He's safe and sound, and he loves it. So that was one project that I worked on over the Christmas break. Oh, and our house gave us a wonderful Christmas present the day, maybe 2 days after my mom flew in. So you have guests staying with you, you're heading into the Christmas break, and our plumbing completely malfunctioned. Our drains started to gurgle, our toilets started to bubble, our shower drains started to regurgitate lovely remnants of whatever was in the pipes. Basically, our whole plumbing system started to fail. And we had to call an emergency plumber. Fortunately enough, our neighbor, son-in-law, is a plumber, and he also lives in our neighborhood, so he could come the same day really quickly. He had himself and one of his guys assess the problem. They ended up getting up on the roof and putting a scope down one of the plumbing vents and finding that there was an almost complete blockage, which was in the main line heading to our septic system. That can get very bad very quickly, so fortunately they were able to come very quickly. It was really cool to see because they put the scope down the vent, and they basically came to the point where they couldn't get the scope any further. Then they had a locator tool that on the ground could basically locate where the end of that scope was, which shows you where the blockage is.
Right there. There? Yeah.
And from there, they decided to use this hydro blaster pressure washer type thing. That is a big machine. That's the hydro flusher.
Got some trees around here or something?
Yeah, just a couple. That same thing, they put it down the vent pipe and essentially just blast away the blockage with water. We discovered that there are roots in the main line towards the septic.
Is that roots?
That's roots.
Lovely.
And it doesn't seem to be affecting things too much. So essentially we're just gonna watch it and see how long it takes for things to start backing up again. Hopefully years. You don't know how big the problem is until you start to assess the situation. And because we are most likely at some point in the not so distant future replacing that septic system, we don't really want to do major repairs like digging up the main line unless we obviously had to. So that was fun to deal with. And of course it was raining too, because it couldn't just be a sunny day like today. They did a great job. They got our plumbing system back to fully functioning. And it also got me back on the roof to realize that there was a massive amount of standing water on our roof because with the windstorms that we've had, a lot of tree debris has once again fallen on the flat roof and clogged up the drains. We've had some major windstorms and there's been a lot of debris that has fallen on the roof. And the other problem is that this flat roof, I don't know if it was just like an architectural detail, but some of the soffit extends about maybe 3 feet or more out from the house. And over time, there's been a lot of sagging. So when you get up on the roof and you see where the roof drains are located, a lot of the water doesn't even get to the roof drain because it has obviously gone the path of least resistance, which is out to the sagging corners of the roof. That's like 3 inches of frozen water. Which just, again, kind of reinforces my thinking that this whole roof system needs to be torn off and fixed because those roof drains aren't working. And this roof is holding a ton of water, especially when those drains get clogged. And we unclogged the drain only to find that I had a sneaking suspicion that one of the downspouts was in behind the brick. But now I know for sure. And another thing that's gonna need to get fixed, we need to strip the brick off. We need to break up the concrete. The perimeter drains in this house are not functioning properly as well. So essentially we get a lot of rain here, and essentially the whole drainage system of this house isn't working properly. So just add it to the list of things that we need to do. As we try to figure out these permits, I still want to be working away on things. There are so many things that can be done around this property, and one that we identified is the garage closest to the house. We've always pictured having a gym in there, and right now it's absolutely packed full of stuff. It's kind of just been the place where things go and you don't think about them anymore. So that's going to be one of our first fairly major projects, is completely renovating the gym garage. I'm looking forward to that because it's motivational. Every time you get things done, every time you move a little bit forward, it motivates you to continue slowly but surely. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell notification so you get notified when a new episode comes out. Have a great week. See you next time.